India's defense system has seen a constant change in its functioning, the way it is responding to the present threats. But with the recent facelift by the DRDO, the Indian defense system, as to how it functions or works in the future days, is going to completely change India's warfare tactics, and also especially the defense technology, simulation or response to the future threats. In this today's particular video, we will be discussing about the recent launch or the maiden test conducted by the DRDO with respect to its integrated air defense weapon system. Welcome back to Believers IAS Academy. This is Madan Gopal, and in this today's particular video, let's try and understand what this integrated air defense weapon system is in detail. And even before we get into the nuances, let's also try and understand that this is one of the most important topic considering the GS paper 3 of the UPSC civil services examination, where it is a direct concept under the science and technology and the internal security part, which also caters to these topics, talking about the role of or the advantages of having indigenous defense technologies. This topic is a direct hit on that. And then also talking about the strategic importance of having a multi-layered air defense for national security with respect to India is also a concept that has some inclination with what we will be discussing today. So what are the key highlights of the test? So one thing to keep in mind, another apart from the newly launched or newly tested defense system, it is to keep in mind that this is India's indigenous defense capabilities, creating another milestone where this would directly help India to stop relying on foreign defense equipments, which we will see in further videos. So one thing to keep in mind, that it is India's indigenous air defense capabilities. Why? Because it has been conducted and successfully even manufactured by the DRDO and other agencies of the Indian defense sector. So getting into the key highlights of the test, we have to understand that the integrated air defense weapon system is a multi-layered defense strategy, which has all these three different missile or weapon systems. One is the QRSAM, which is the quick reaction surface to air missiles. Second one is the VSHORADs, or the advanced very short range air defense systems, or also simply called as the VSHORADs. Then we have the DEWs, which is the high power laser based directed energy weapons, right? So what does this mean? So the question is, didn't we have all of this prior to this particular maiden test that we conducted? The question is, yes, we had a layered system, we had a very profound defense system, but it was not a multi-layered defense system, which which is like this. So it was a layered defense system. Of course, we had S-400, which is a long missile, long distance missile, which is capable of addressing to those kind of missile attacks up to 400 kilometers, right? So this was a long range missile defense technology we had. And then we had the indigenously made Akash for the short range defense. And also we had one which we used to we still have from the Israel, which is famously called as the Spider, which is the short range defense technology, right? This of course we have imported from the Israel. So this is what we presently have, and this is pretty much layered. So each of this have an individual target and individual responsibility, where if a particular missile is entering India's territory and if the range is within 400 kilometers, then S-400 is what will be used to intersect that particular missile or an aircraft and to bring it down. And then something within the range of let's say 6 to 8 kilometers within the short range, we had the indigenous Akash, which used to kind of intersect and do it accordingly. And then especially the UAVs and all the drone attacks, right? for all the short range weapons or short range enemy alien weapons that used to enter the Indian territory. We had the Israel's Spider, which used to intersect and bring it down. So all of these things used to happen independently, right? Sorry, it used to happen individually, right? So you had to depending on the situation, like if you spot an aircraft, or let's say if you spot a missile, then you had to deploy S-400, and in order to intercept or let's say bring down certain helicopters or certain fighter jets, or let's say even for that matter UAVs for that matter, within the range of 6 to 8 kilometers, you had to deploy Akash. And then separately you had Spider. So this was something, although it was layered defense system that we had, still we were it was not automated, right? There was some element of humans involved, the manual technology involved, the manual man force involved, where we had to individually decide and keep those relevant defense mechanisms, defense systems to cater to certain threats. But here what happens in the multi-layered defense system is that everything is automated. So it has a CPU, a central processing unit, which is called the centralized command and control center, or also called as the C3, which acts like the CPU, right? Which is a central unit of this entire IADWS, which acts as a CPU, which coordinates and which automatically decides and responds in the real time to certain threats, depending on what kind of threats we have. So in place of 3 different defense technologies, right now we have, just imagine, we just have only one which has all the 3 capabilities, and now this can do or this can intersect multiple targets. This one particular defense technology, talking about the IADWS, it has the capability right now to target or to hit multiple targets. So earlier we had individual defense technologies targeting one particular or desired target that it was supposed to hit. So this is the basic understanding, and this is the new innovation considering its automated nature. Now talking in detail about what the individual weapons about, first one is the QRSAM, the quick reaction surface to air missile. So what is the purpose? To counter high speed aerial threats like the fighter jets, UAVs, cruise missiles within a short range. What is the range? 3 kilometers to 30 kilometers. And what is the speed? Capable of engaging targets at a very high speed, means any target or any enemy alien drones, or even any alien cruise missiles, or even fighter jets, which are even at a high speed, it can ensure that QRSAM can intersect and target that. Then we have the mobility. It is basically mounted on a mobile launcher for a quick relocation, which means it is not stagnant at one particular place. It needs a mobile vehicle, preferably a carrier, which can carry it and make sure it is mobile. And then it uses an active radar homing for precision targeting, and also network center. It is clear that it can be integrated into larger air defense command networks also. So simple thing to keep in mind, that the QRSAM is a medium range missile defense technology, right, which is having the range between 3 kilometer 30 kilometer, and it can intersect fighter jets, UAVs and cruise missiles. Next we have the Vishwarats, which is to neutralize low altitude, which means the range is bit less. It is considered to be the short range one. So the range is within 300 meters to up to 6 to 8 kilometers is what the range is. It can intersect drones, even helicopters, and all those low-lying aircrafts, right? So what is the mechanisms of the portability? It is a lightweight and shoulder fixed, enhancing mobility for troops. I hope you have seen certain army officials launching it from their shoulders, right? The missile gets launched, so they keep it on their shoulders. So this is that kind of a defense technology, which is the Vishwarats, very short range defense system. So key thing to keep in mind that it is to intersect or bring down the drones, helicopters, and even low-lying aircrafts. And the range is also important. Going forward, the directed energy weapons, which is to neutralize aerial threats like drones, once again UAVs and light aircrafts, using the high energy laser beams without expending physical ammunition. So here the physical ammunition are not utilized, except what we have is the laser beam. And this is an additional advantage for India, because right now India represents, or let's say it represents India's leap into the next generation directed energy warfare, and India is a part of a very limited countries which presently had the DEWs. So which were the countries which presently had DEWs? It was US, Israel, Russia, and even China, and presently even India. So DEWs, the having the indigenously the indigenous development of DEWs has put India amidst all these nations, who had that monopoly, or who had only those countries who had the DEW. So now India has also put itself. So hence India's leap into the next generation directed energy warfare. So what are the key features of this DEWs? It uses a laser power, a high energy laser beam for instantaneous destruction, and it is a silent and a clean, defense strategy which leaves minimal battlefield signature, as in no sound, nothing. And then precision, talking about the precision, in terms of targeting the enemy drones or any enemy aircrafts. It can disable electronic systems or destroy structures of small targets mid-air. So that is another advantage. And another important thing is the cost efficient, the lower cost per engagement compared to missiles once operationalized. So compared to missiles, this is way more cost effective. So that is what the advantage of the DEWs. And also key important thing to keep in mind, that India became one amongst the other countries which only had DEWs so far. Now, what are the significance of this particular move? It demonstrates multi-layered air defense capabilities against a range of aerial threats, including UAVs and drones. So earlier, as we discussed, with just having a layered air defense, we had a kind of a mechanism where only one particular defense system was targeting one particular target. But right now, having a multi-layered air defense against now the option has opened for against range of threats, range of aerial threats, be it drones in the short range, be it aircrafts or helicopters in the mid range, and even be it the fighter jets and even missiles, right? All of this can be catered or can be addressed by this IADWS, Integrated Air Defense Weapon System, and this is one important feature, another added significance for the Indian defense system. And it enhances protection of strategic facilities from enemy attacks, because especially during war, when the enemy attacks a particular country, it usually targets all the critical infrastructure, be it naval bases, right, the defense defense ports, and even air force bases. So these are the areas which most likely gets hit, especially when a war is called for. And also another important aspect is the infrastructure, the critical infrastructure, like the nuclear plants, right, power grid, and even communication hubs. So these are the targets of main targets, especially during a war. So having a very full-time multi-layered air defense capability, which is which can be trusted for its real-time response, it helps us protect the strategic infrastructure and strategic facilities of a country, especially for India, and also marks a step forward in India's efforts towards self-reliance in defense technology, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. Because right now, as we know, we have Israel's Spider, and we also have Russia's TOR missiles, right? So all of these dependents, right, in order to ensure our own indigenously made, or let's say, in order to make sure that we are not dependent on the foreign imports, especially for defense technologies. This helps in ensuring India's efforts towards self-reliance in defense technology, and also this creates more opportunity for India to market, to kind of supply our defense technologies to our friendly nations, also creating that market for India's defense sector. So that is all for this particular video. I hope you have understood what the DRDO's new launch is all about. So even before we end the video, let's try and see one prelims question. The question goes, with reference to India's integrated air defense weapon system recently in use, consider the following statements. Statement 1, it integrates QRSAM, VSHORADs and the DEWS, the Command and Control Center, or the C3 for IA Integrated Air Defense Weapon System, has been developed by Defense Research and Development Laboratory. The DEW component was developed by the Center for Airborne Systems. Which of the following statements are correct? So use the comment section to leave the answers. That's all for today's video. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.